Gene's favorite studio, A24.
Yeah, they did it again.
Bring Her Back is the
Bring Her
movie we're
Back.
talking about.
It's in the theaters now, or
Well, kind of
on its
wrapping
way
up,
out,
yeah,
maybe.
but it's new enough for me to do a very rare spoiler warning. As you know, on our show, we just randomly talk about whatever we want to talk about with these movies. So if you haven't seen it, we are going to spoil it for you. But let's see where Gene's at with Bring Her Back.
Bring Her Back. I really like this movie. I think parts of it, like Acts 1 and Acts 2, seem to get a while to get going. And parts of it, I was wondering to myself, is this really a horror movie? It seems like a drama. But it gets to it. It happens. And in a way, I appreciate the slowness of the beginning because it really establishes the characters, especially the characters of Andy and Piper, brother and sister, especially of Andy. And, you're really drawn into the characters and you really like them. And so when bad things happen to your favorite characters, it adds to the horror and the suspense and the unsettlingness of this movie, which definitely happens, I'd say, in the later acts of the movie. And so, yeah, and the movie gets there. Parts of it were thinking, man, David Cronenberg he would be proud of this movie. He would be very happy. Body horror, the flesh just being wrecked, destroyed, and yeah, this movie makes it happen. Unsettling things, the movie ends in a way that you wish it kind of didn't, so yeah, it's good stuff. I would definitely recommend it. And actually, I had an idea. It's like we should have a running top 20. We could post it like here. Because this movie, I don't know if it'd be into my top 10, but it would definitely be in my top 20 for sure. Yeah, horror movies.
Okay. Well, the general premise of this movie is early in the film, there's Andy and Piper. And Piper has a visual disability where she can't see very well. She can see kind of shapes and outlines, maybe.
Yeah, she knows light and dark. Yeah,
something like that. And their father dies, and so they end up in the foster care system kind of deal.
Father dies, and later on the movie points out father dies in a maybe suspect kind of manner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so they end up with this foster parent, this woman, and weird things go from there. That's basically what it is.
It's Laura. Her real name's Sally Hawkins. If you watch Paddington, you are a fan of the Paddington series. She was in Paddington 2.
Or Godzilla.
The
King of the
Love
Monsters.
of Water. She was in that one.
Or Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Or Godzilla King of the
versus Kong.
Paddington 2. This is how I know her. But she's great. She's full of pathology. You meet her, and from the very get-go, she's just one of those very strange kind of people. And as you get to know her more, her strangeness just gets amplified. And her strangeness just keeps increasing throughout the whole movie until it becomes pretty deadly.
Well, and yes, there's a lot of complexities to that character, which I really enjoyed. This film is directed by the two guys who did Talk to Me.
Right.
And a lot of times you'll have a first movie that everyone really likes, and then they can never recapture that magic again. And so this movie is similar themed with the kind of the occult aspect of it, but just really goes in a unique direction. And so I agree with Gene. This movie is great. The thing I like the most about this movie is it starts dark, it gets darker, and it stays there, and then the movie ends. And so
there's a little brightness at the end,
a tiny little sliver,
because there's a character named Ollie, and he gains his redemption. So the other characters in the movie, there's Piper, the kind of like the hard vision sister. She gets out of this situation, and then Ollie, whose real name is Connor Bird, he gets out of this situation too. And so it seems that Laura she's a well-renowned foster mom. She's worked in this foster care system for a long time. And she also knows a lot about psychology, and I guess she has the ability to hypnotize people. And she puts Ollie under this fantastic spell, which kind of reminds me of it's like the movie Get Out, where it's there's control over people using hypnosis, and I believe she is using hypnosis to control this character named Oliver, who's a young boy and who is kind of central to the David Cronenberg-ness of this movie. So, as if you watch it, you'll see.
So, Gene, I'm not going down the road of the hypnosis part. What this woman has done, first of all, her blind daughter drowned and has passed away.
Right.
And this spiraled her out of control, basically, right? This movie is really heavy on grief. Yep. The two main characters, their father dies. They're experiencing grief there on multiple levels there, actually, because the older boy reveals later that the dad had been significantly abusive towards him, but had hid that from Piper, the younger girl.
Right.
And so she's experiencing one level of grief, Andy's experiencing a different level of grief. But this Sally Hawkins character is experiencing grief to such a degree that it takes her into extremely dark places. The dark place it takes her is apparently to the dark web, where she downloads a bunch of disturbing videos about how you can bring people back from the dead if you summon this demonic entity and things like that. So I'm looking at the Connor character.
Yeah, it's very disturbing. Again, Cronenberg-esque.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
videos.
The Connor character because it becomes established that she broke into a home at some point and kidnapped
this kid, renamed him Ollie.
Created this ritual of somehow from this video she watched, which summoned this demon, which they do name at some point, and I can't remember what the name of the demon was, S-I something. But that demon now resides in there, and the idea is that demon can provide a pathway for Sally Hawkins' deceased daughter to come back.
To relive,
right?
Yes.
Which is where the blind girl that she's taken on as a foster kid comes in to be very important.
Sally Hawkins' dead daughter, Kathy, will then reanimate the body of the of Piper.
Right, like I said.
Who needs to die, of course.
It's dark and gets darker and keeps getting darker.
And it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, there's a lot of like fitted, very disturbing footage from that she pulls from the dark web, and it's hard to pull it all together. And so I thought because you just try to make sense of this whole thing, and it seemed like there was hypnosis, because there was parts of the movie where Ollie kind of snaps out of it, and then she as in Laura, the mom, has to bring Ollie back under her control, right. And she makes circular motions with her hand in like a glass window, patio door, if you will. And then that manages to bring him back. So it just seems like there's some kind of hypnosis, some kind of mind control going on.
I think it's
there.
just part of the overall ritual to keep control, because she also has the white powder line around her entire property. And
she's got a circular line.
If you cross over it.
Super creepy around her whole house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And so this movie that starts kind of as this story about grief really descends into what Gene's talking about, because this little Ollie kid, he's got this demon in him. The demon's hungry, right? And the demon doesn't exactly know how to satiate that hunger.
Hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ollie tries to eat a kitchen cabinet. Yeah, and then he for some reason, the mom is completely demented. And it made me think, is like, you have a blind daughter and yet you have a swimming pool. Like, how in the world is that ever a good idea? Well, right. The daughter dies in the pool, right? Of course. But she keeps the body. The body is in a freezer. And so Ollie finds this body. And if Ollie's going to eat a kitchen cabinet, well, you know what he's going to do with his frozen body, which he does. Yeah.
Well, but that was part of the ritual as well, because if you remember, there's this really off-putting scene where Sally decides to go to the Piper and Andy's father's funeral, and you remember when she cuts the lock of the hair and then ends up feeding it to Ollie?
Yeah, she does. And Ollie eats it.
So part of that part of that ritual is you've kind of got to consume part of the body that maybe you're going to try to inhabit or bring back or something like that. Because I think it was intentional that they wanted Ollie to eat that deceased girl.
Yeah. And I like how Roger said there's complexities to the movie, because it turns out that Andy and Piper's dad, he was just taking a shower and then he just, like, he had a heart attack and he died. But later on, it's highly referenced that maybe he just didn't die by an accident. Like, maybe because this woman, she's invested in the foster care system. She works in the foster care system. She knows about troubled families. And so I think she was trying to find a family that she could get, or where she can gain possession of the two kids. So she finds this family, finds out there's just the dad there. They have a serious, long-standing problems. So somehow I think she poisons the dad. The dad dies suddenly, and she gains possession of Andy and then Piper, and they're go into her home, and it's a natural fit because she is well regarded within that system. There's part of the movie where we're taken to another foster care worker, and this other foster care worker knows Laura, and she has nothing but glowing things to say. Although Andy, the older son, protests loudly that this woman is just lost it and she's crazy and this place needs to be investigated. So by law, this other foster care worker has to investigate it. But I think we're missing out a little bit is just talking how, as the movie goes, how much you really learn to like Andy. The older brother, how much he's just trying to hold it together. His life is abused by his dad. He's meeting this woman, and this woman is trying to put a wedge between himself.
Right, because she doesn't want Andy there.
No, she wants Piper. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Andy's got to go. And anyway, there's a stipulation in a few months, Andy's going, because he's going to turn 18, Andy will then gain possession or stewardship of the whole family, which would be Piper, and so then they could legally live on their own. So she needs to work quickly to put a wedge between Andy and Piper and make Piper want to stay with her. And so she does things like pouring urine onto Andy's body while he's sleeping, other she's grossly manipulative things.
Gaslighting this poor guy.
Yeah, you just feel for the kid because he wants to do the right thing and he's a great spirit and you just like this character. Yeah, and the movie keeps going back to this scene in like a rear view mirror, like there's the rear view mirror of a car keeps coming up, and then you kept wondering, like, how is this rear view mirror going to play out? How is it going to be used later? And so to me, that's always a sign of like good production, good filmmaking, is like when you show something and you show it again, it's like, you're going to see it again, like they're foreshadowing something. And you definitely see that rearview mirror again, which is in a very tragic circumstances.
Right. And these two directors are pretty accomplished. They choose smart camera angles.
Yeah, it's very good.
They do smart, subtle things like what Gene is talking about. And they keep the story moving along. At one point, Andy gets a concussion. Did you catch the one throwaway line of dialogue that really highlighted how much of a gaslighter this woman is? She visits him in the hospital, and he is talking about things, and she says, "Just like when I killed your father." Did you catch that line?
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I guess I don't remember it right now. But
yeah. So it highlights, kind of what you.
Well, it highlights, what I was saying, but there are other clues to show that father dying was not an accident.
Well, but even if it was an accident, this one throwaway line of dialogue highlights how deeply she's trying to get this kid out of there and gaslight him. You've got a concussion. I'm going to feed you this information. You're now going to go start spouting it to other people about, oh, she killed my dad. She killed my dad. Oh, wait, kid, you're really crazy, right? And it backed up the whole deal about how she keeps urinating in a bucket and then pouring it on the kid to make it think. So it's just, she's just trying to make him just crack. And I really liked that line of dialogue there because it's not highlighted. She's talking about another thing, and then she just throws that line in there and keeps talking. And just, I'm trying to plant these seeds where you're maybe going to feed it back to somebody else who's going to be like, no, there's no way she killed your father.
And it's also just planting doubt in there.
Yeah, it's
just to make him doubt himself even more.
And it's just a small, once again, low-budget film, small, compact cast, small, compact area. Basically, everything kind of takes place in that house.
Yeah.
And just really shines. This movie brought me, and I've said this before about movies, but this movie brought me a lot of joy because it is so dark and depressing and nothing positive happens.
Yeah, I admire these guys from Australia. And from their first movie, Talk to Me, I did some research on them, and they produced a lot of short films. Mm-hmm. And a lot of those short films that they put out were really funny. Excuse me. And so they're designed to they're just two guys, two college guys, two young guys just having a great time. Like one of the movies the short films that they put out was so funny, but they had like the McDonald's guy and like the Wendy's girl. They like get into a fight, and they're all full on cosplay costumes, and they're getting into a fight in the parking lot. It's just really well done. And so, other stuff like that, we're just a couple guys just having a great time. And so they managed to get their creativity together and produce, I think, two really good horror movies.
Right,
so
definitely
Talk
looking.
To Me and this one are really good.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to what they do next. Because as I said earlier, sometimes some of these guys, they have a great idea and it's one and done. Tobe Hooper's, I think, a good example. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of the greatest movies ever. He never got even close to replicating that again in the rest of his career. And so these guys are like, yeah, we did Talk to Me, which everybody kind of liked. Here's one that I actually like a lot more than I liked Talk to Me.
Yeah, this one has a certain depth and complexity.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
yeah, because you really have to think, and it's if I had a hard time putting together all that dark web stuff that was really happening, because it's so fleeting, and then the movie actually starts with that, so it's really disturbing to begin with.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's good stuff. I totally recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I'm gonna have a list of my top 20, and I'll show it every week.
Okay, well, you do that.
No,
Gene.
you do that too. No, it would be a good addition to the program, and then I'll probably put this maybe at 15 or 16.
So, Gene, if I had a top 10, you've got to be just awesome to ever enter that list.
Really? So it's not movable for me.
Well, kind of. It's not. I don't know. I mean, it could be.
It could be a top 20. We'll just call it 11 through 20 then.
I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah. We're way off topic. Yeah, go see this movie. Bring her back. It's great stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
It's what horror's all about.
Yeah, It really is. It's going to take you into some dark areas and not necessarily lighten them up. So it's pretty good. Anyway, we will catch you next week with a movie we haven't even said what we're going to do. Oh my God, we totally have failed our audience.
We've totally failed, yes.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have to leave
it open
excited. Right now.
So once again, we have no idea what we're doing next week, even though we promised you we would tell you.
We blew it.
But something amazing will happen next week for sure. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Bye.